Okay, this is a video tutorial manual for the Automag custom ULD whatever paintball marker with the dye ultralight grip on there that's been modified with pneumatic internals. I was going to write all this down, but I figured a video would be a little bit easier to show everything and how to disassemble it properly. It's mostly just basic Automag stuff. I'm not going to show you how to, do the level 10 or anything like that. I'm not even going to go too much into pneumatics since all that is online. I'm just going to go into the stuff that's specific to this marker. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm removing the screw that's here, and then I'm removing the other screw that's here. That locks the ultralight frame to the rail. Okay. This is a little bit more complicated. I'm basically doing a field strip. When you do a regular Automag field strip, you just have to take out the thumb screw at the back. This one's a little bit more complicated. You have to take out 3 screws instead of just 1 to get the valve out. Okay, so then this just kind of comes off here. Oh, we gotta take off the air line. That's being stubborn. There we go. Okay, and this all pops around. We're gonna put that to the side here. Okay, so this basically is just your, standard Automag. The only difference is that the screw to hold the body and the rail together is here. Okay, this hole is actually, it's one of the twist lock barrel plug things where I just shaved off the top and I use it kind of as a hole. It's been threaded so that you can screw in a bolt and attach the frame there. This screw here is basically the thumb screw that's going into the valve, okay? Then this hole here is for the back of the ultralight frame, okay? So if you do need to take this apart at the field, you can leave this screw alone, and you can just pull out this screw, and then the same thing as normal, that the valve just slides out. Sometimes you have to push the sear up to make sure that the on-off pin is not stuck through the body, but you just pop that, and then, back out this screw and then pull the thing out just like normal. I do want to mention this is the first thing you have to be careful that's unusual about this gun. This screw, you can tighten that down all the way that you want, okay? But this is just like any other thumb screw that, you can't actually tighten it. This is the whole way tight, okay? And you actually want to tighten it down, but then back it out about 1 turn or so, okay? Because and it's the same thing, you can over tighten the thumb screw on a regular Automag and then it won't work because the valve isn't lined up properly against the body and the bolt will actually scrape against the inside of the body. So that's the one thing. If you put together your gun and pull the trigger and it doesn't fire, this would be the first thing that I would check, that you over tighten that bolt, okay? The next thing I need to cover is some things about the trigger here, okay? There's a piece of foam up here. You don't want to lose that. That basically provides a little return force. When the body's here, that keeps the trigger from popping forward too much, okay? Keeps nice tension. The second thing you got to be careful about is the safety. The safety is not actually, there's nothing, hold on here. There's nothing holding the safety in. It's held in by the tension of the grips, okay? So the safety just pops right out, okay? And so you could lose this if you're not careful when you're disassembling everything, so try not to do that. There's a fatter end and a thinner end, and the fatter end is going to go to my left, I guess. Okay, and it just pushes through, and once you get it most of the way through, it's held in by tension with the grips, okay? And then you push it to the left to shoot, and then you're going to push it to the right to not shoot. The other thing you got to be careful about is that it's kind of hard to see, but behind the trigger where the Mag 43 valve is, this is the top of the valve, and there's this little, I don't know what to call it, it's like a plate or a plug or something, but this actually will just fall right out, okay? And now you can see it's not there. And so you don't want to lose this because that's what actually connects the trigger to the valve, okay? So just make sure, when you're pulling this apart that you don't accidentally that's why the foam is here, to kind of keep some tension against that. I am going to include, I found an extra one of these, okay? So I'm going to include that in case you lose the one that's already in here. You've got a backup spare, so that's good. I'm also going to include, this is a backup safety. Okay, it's just a pin, but it happens to be the same. So if you lose this safety, you could then use this pin as a backup. And the same thing here. Hold on, I pushed it through the wrong way. Sorry, it only goes out through the right side. It doesn't come out through the left side. Okay, so this pin, you could just, stick it in like that, and it would work as your safety. And then you could take it out and put it in your pocket while you're playing and that sort of thing, and then it would work. So I'm going to include those things as extra. Hopefully you'll never need them, but I thought, it would really suck if you lost the safety somehow and then you could never put the gun on safety again except just to degas it. That would be kind of a pain in the butt. The one other thing you got to be careful about, I don't know why you would ever need to take off the grips, but I'm going to take them off really quick just to show you something here. The only problem that I've run into with this marker is that when I first set it up, I didn't install the air lines very well, the internal air lines for the pneumatic components, and basically the grips squeezed the air line and cut off the air supply, and so one day it just kind of stopped working. I don't think that will happen again, but if it does, I am going to include about a foot of extra air line in case you want to like change where the LPR is, or if you want to change some other things. But I just want to point out that this is kind of hard to see. The air lines have to be put up in a way that they're not being pinched by anything. Okay, so it kind of, I think if you ever take it apart, take off the right side. The right side is easier to arrange the air lines correctly than the left side. But you just got to make sure this, it's kind of hard to point out which ones I'm talking about here. But this airline here, which one? This one here, that's the one that goes up, the air comes from the LPR, goes into the valve, and then there's actually a little thing on the top that you can see there. Okay, and that's the airline coming out, and then it goes up against the grips. It comes down through there, goes up here into the piston, okay, and then the piston shoots up to push against the sear and actually fire the marker, okay. So you just got to make sure this airline isn't pinched when you put the grips back on. Like I said, you shouldn't have to take the grips off. I hope I've had a pneumag one before this, and I think I've taken off the grips once in 5 years. The pneumatic components, they really don't break down. You don't have to oil them. You don't have to, as long as you're putting some oil in the ASA of the gun and then into the valve, it should be fine. So you really shouldn't have to monkey with them too much. But if you take off the grips, I just want to point that out so that you don't put it back together and then pinch the airline and then your gun doesn't work. That would be really unfortunate. Okay. All right. So that's back on there. Okay, we talked about. All right, so now we're going to reassemble here. We've got the big hole does nothing, okay, but the small hole is going to line up with this little thing there. Okay, it's going to kind of fit in there. And then like so. Okay, and then we've got a small screw that's going to go in this front hole. Okay. There's really no way to, you can't misalign this. If you don't put it in the holes right, it's not going to line up correctly. I don't know if you noticed, but the piston does stick up a little bit past the top of the frame. That's intentional, so that otherwise, if the piston might actually hit the bottom of the rail instead of going up through the rail and hitting the sear. So it's intentionally kind of a little bit taller than it needs to be, just for simplicity. All right, these two screws that are holding down the rail, or the frame to the rail, you can tighten them down as much as you want. You're not going to hurt anything. Okay, it's only the screw that's holding the valve to the rail that you want to be careful about. Okay, once everything's together, you shouldn't have to adjust the LPR. It's already set. So I've got the safety on. Everything else should be okay. Of course, you could change the airlines. You could have an airline going from here to there. This is still a gas-through grip, and you could change things around, but I'll leave that to you. I'm also going to include the mini rail, and that goes to the ultralite grip has a rail built into it. But if you want to take off this ASA and switch something else on there, you can just, you put a thing through there, and you can loosen up the little ball valve, or the whatever it's called, you'll figure it out. But then you can have this rail in case you want to put this ASA onto another gun. That'll work. Otherwise, I think that's it. The only other thing you got to be careful about is that this ASA, I really like it. It's very, very easy to turn. I mean, even though you have this line in the way, you can turn it with one finger, okay? So it's very smooth. It's very easy to operate. But you do have to be careful. I was playing one game where I screwed it on enough to turn on the air, and then just from shooting the gun, it kind of worked itself loose and popped open in the middle of a game. That was very embarrassing. So even though you want to screw it on the whole way, just to make sure this doesn't come off, and then you push the trigger, and there you go. That's it. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me.